The dust on Vareth 9 never settled. It hung in the air like a dirty curtain, making everything look gray and dead. Jiho pulled his breathing mask tighter against his face as he walked through the ruins of the research facility. His boots crunched on broken glass and twisted metal. The place had been destroyed weeks ago, maybe months. Nobody really cared about abandoned colonies in the Outer Rim. Jiho was a salvager. He searched through dead places like this, looking for anything worth selling. Computer parts, medical equipment, rare metals. Anything that could make him enough money to keep flying. It was lonely work, but he preferred it that way. Less complicated than dealing with people. His scanner beeped. Something with a power source was nearby. Jiho followed the signal deeper into the facility. The hallways were dark, lit only by his flashlight. Doors hung off their hinges. Walls had holes blown through them. Whatever happened here had been violent and fast. The signal led him to what looked like a medical wing. Hospital beds lay scattered like toys. Equipment had been smashed. Papers covered the floor, covered in languages Jiho didn't recognize. He stepped carefully, watching for unstable flooring. That's when he heard it. A small sound, like a whimper. Jiho froze. His hand moved to the pistol on his hip. Could be an animal, could be something dangerous, but it sounded scared, not threatening. He moved toward the sound, his light cutting through the darkness. In the corner of the room, buried under a collapsed shelf and medical equipment, he saw her. She was small, maybe the size of a human child, though Jiho knew better than to guess ages with aliens. Her skin was pale blue, covered in patterns that looked like snowflakes. She had large eyes, dark and round, filled with pain and fear. Her arms were thin, reaching toward him weakly. But it was her legs that made Jiho stop breathing. She didn't have any. Not really. From the knees down, there was nothing, just wrapped stumps, stained with dried blood that looked purple against her blue skin. The girl made that sound again, a clicking, musical noise that was definitely words in her language. She was asking for help. Jiho didn't need a translator to understand that. He checked his scanner. Her life signs were weak. The device estimated she had maybe 3 hours before her body shut down. The air here was wrong for her species. The temperature too cold. She was dying slowly. Jiho should leave. That's what any smart salvager would do. She was extra weight. She would use up his oxygen, his water, his medical supplies. He didn't even know what species she was, which meant he had no idea how to treat her, and carrying an alien without proper documents could get him arrested or worse. His ship's AI, Mira, spoke in his earpiece. Jiho, I'm detecting the life form. Analysis suggests Velith species. Recommendation, continue salvage operation. Rescue attempts carry significant risk with minimal reward. Jiho stared at the girl. She was looking at him with those big, dark eyes, waiting, hoping. She couldn't have been more than 12 years old, by his guess. Just a kid. Mira, what are the chances she survives if I leave her? 0%. Jiho closed his eyes. He saw another face. Another girl. Younger than this one. Dark hair instead of blue skin. Screaming his name as the evacuation ship lifted off without her. The officials had said there wasn't enough room, that they had to prioritize, that some losses were acceptable. His sister's face had haunted him for 15 years. The hell with it, Jiho muttered. He holstered his pistol and moved to the debris pile. Jiho, this is not logical, Mira said. You are risking— I know, he interrupted. Log my decision. If this goes wrong, make sure people know I chose it. He started pulling away the broken equipment. The shelf was heavy, and he had to brace himself to lift it. The girl made frightened sounds as he worked, probably scared he would hurt her more. He moved as carefully as he could. It's okay, he said, even though she couldn't understand. I've got you. You're going to be okay. When he finally cleared the debris, he could see the full extent of her injuries. Her legs had been severed cleanly, like surgical cuts. This wasn't an accident. Someone had done this to her. The thought made anger burn in Jiho's chest. He pulled out his emergency medical kit. It was designed for humans, but the basics worked for most species. Stop bleeding, prevent infection, stabilize. He'd been a military medic before becoming a salvager. His hands remembered what to do. The girl cried out when he started cleaning her wounds. He hated causing her pain, but infection would kill her faster than anything else. He worked quickly, applying synthetic skin and injections that would hopefully work with her biology. Mira, prepare the medical bay. I'm bringing her up. Jiho, I must inform you that harboring an undocumented alien violates— I don't care, he said firmly. Prepare the bay. Now. He wrapped the girl in his thermal blanket and lifted her carefully. She was lighter than he expected. Too light. She'd been starving here. Her arms wrapped around his neck weakly, and she made a soft clicking sound against his shoulder. As Jiho carried her through the ruined facility, his scanner began beeping urgently. Multiple ships were entering the atmosphere. Fast attack craft, military or mercenary. Mira, who's coming? Scanning. Taeyang Corporation signatures. Jiho, those are cleanup crews. They eliminate evidence. Jiho started running. The girl bounced against his chest, making small, pained sounds. He whispered apologies as he sprinted toward his ship. Behind them, he heard explosions. The company was destroying the facility completely. Anyone still here was just more evidence to erase. Jiho reached his ship and practically threw himself inside. Mira, emergency launch, now! The engines roared to life. Through the window, Jiho saw the mercenary ships circling like vultures. His ship lifted off just as the research facility exploded in a massive fireball. As they broke atmosphere, Jiho looked down at the girl in his arms. She was unconscious now, her breathing shallow. He'd saved her from the facility, but the hard part was just beginning. Mira, set course for anywhere away from here, and start searching your database for everything you can find on the Velith species. Acknowledged, Jiho. May I ask why you did this? He looked at the girl's peaceful face, so young and vulnerable. Because someone should have stayed, he said quietly. Someone should have stayed for my sister. Jiho rushed to the medical bay where she lay on the examination table. Her eyes were wild with fear, and she was trying to get up, trying to run. But she had no legs to run with. She fell immediately, and Jiho caught her before she hit the floor. She fought him. Her small fists hit his chest and face. She was clicking and chirping in her language, the sounds sharp and panicked. Jiho didn't blame her. She'd woken up in a strange place with a strange creature holding her. Easy, easy, Jiho said softly. He set her back on the table gently but firmly. I'm not going to hurt you. You're safe here. She didn't understand his words, but maybe she understood his tone. She stopped fighting, but her whole body was shaking. Tears ran down her blue cheeks, clear like water. Jiho stepped back slowly, hands raised to show he wasn't a threat. He picked up the small translator device from the counter. It was old and damaged, something he'd found in another salvage job. He hoped it would work. He held it between them and pressed the button. Can you understand me now? The device clicked and hummed. Then it made sounds similar to the girl's language. She stared at it, then at him. She made a short clicking sound. The translator spoke in flat, mechanical human language. Where am I? You're on my ship, Jiho said. I found you in the research facility. You were hurt. I brought you here to help you. The girl looked down at her legs, at the stumps where her legs should be. Her face crumpled and she started crying harder. She touched the bandages Jiho had applied, her hands trembling. Why? The translator said after she made more sounds. Why, help me? Because you needed help, Jiho said simply, and nobody else was coming. She stared at him for a long moment. Then she said something the translator struggled with. It came out as, others left me to Die. I know, Jiho said, but I'm not others. Over the next few hours, Jiho learned pieces of her story through the broken translator. Her name was something the device couldn't translate properly, but she chose a human name she'd heard before, Nari. She said it meant lily in some human language. Jiho didn't correct her. She'd been brought to the facility with her father. He was a scientist studying genetic codes. But the people running the facility weren't interested in normal research. They were doing experiments, painful experiments on living subjects from different species. Nari's father had found out and tried to stop them. They killed him. Nari had seen it happen. Then they started experimenting on her. They cut off her legs to see how Velith bodies healed. They were going to do more, but something went wrong. There was a fight, explosions, people running. In the chaos, Nari was left behind, buried under debris. She'd been there for 6 days before Jiho found her. Jiho felt sick listening to her story. He'd seen terrible things in his military days, but this was different. This was cold, planned cruelty, and Nari was just a child. The people who did this, Jiho said carefully. Do you know who they worked for? Nari nodded. She said a name. Taeyang Corporation. Jiho knew that name. Everyone in the Outer Rim knew it. Taeyang was one of the biggest companies in known space. They owned mines, factories, entire planets. They had private armies and bought politicians like other people bought coffee. Mira, Jiho called out. Are we being followed? His ship's AI responded immediately. Negative. However, I am detecting increased communication traffic in this sector. Taeyang Corporation has issued a cleanup protocol for Verith 9. They are eliminating all evidence of the facility. Including witnesses, Jiho said grimly. Correct. Jiho, I must remind you that you are now harboring potential evidence against a major corporation. This significantly increases your risk profile. Nari was watching him, those dark eyes full of fear and understanding. She knew she was dangerous to have around. She started making clicking sounds, fast and urgent. The translator worked overtime. You should leave me. I bring trouble. I understand. No, Jiho said firmly. I didn't pull you out of that hell just to dump you somewhere else. You're staying with me until you're safe. But, no buts. You're a kid. That's all I need to know. Nari looked confused. What is kid? A child, a young one, someone who should be protected. She touched her chest, then pointed at him. You protect me? Why? Jiho sat down heavily in the chair next to the medical table. How could he explain it? How could he tell this alien child about his sister, about the guilt that had eaten at him for 15 years? I had a sister once, he said slowly. She was younger than me. When I was your age, maybe a little older, there was an attack on our colony. Everyone was evacuating, but the ships were full. The officials said they had to leave some people behind. They said it was necessary, that some losses were acceptable. He paused, the memory painful even after all this time. My sister was one of the people they left behind. I was already on the ship. I tried to get back to her, but they held me down. They said I couldn't help her, that I'd just die too. I watched our ship fly away while she screamed my name. Nari was quiet, listening. They found her body 3 weeks later, Jiho continued. She'd survived for a while, alone, scared. If someone had just stayed with her, maybe she'd still be alive. He looked at Nari directly. I can't save my sister, but I can save you, and I'm not leaving you behind. Not for Taeyang Corporation. Not for the law, not for anything. The translator struggled with Nari's next sounds. She was crying again, but this time she was smiling too. Thank you, it finally said. Thank you. Suddenly alarms blared throughout the ship. Mira's voice was urgent. Jiho, we have incoming ships. 3 vessels. They match Taeyang mercenary signatures. How did they find us? Unknown. They must have tracking technology beyond my scanning capabilities. Jiho jumped up and ran to the cockpit. On his screens, he could see 3 sleek attack ships closing in fast. They were better armed and faster than his small salvage vessel. Mira, evasive maneuvers. Get us somewhere with cover. The nearest cover is Heian Station, a neutral trading moon. However, my navigation systems show damage from the hasty launch. I cannot guarantee we will arrive intact. Try anyway. The ship shook as weapons fire hit their shields. Jiho grabbed the controls, adding his piloting skills to Mira's calculations. Behind him, he heard Nari cry out in fear. Another hit. Sparks flew from a control panel. The ship's shields were failing. Mira, redirect all power to engines. Forget the shields. We just need to reach the station. That is extremely dangerous. Do it! The ship surged forward. The mercenary ship stayed close, firing constantly. Jiho's vessel shook with each hit. Warning lights flashed red. Systems were failing one by one. Heian Station appeared ahead, a small moon covered in buildings and landing pads. Jiho aimed for it desperately. Attention, unidentified vessel. A voice came over the radio. You are entering Heian Station space. State your purpose or be fired upon. This is salvage vessel Morning Star requesting emergency landing. We're under attack. There was a pause. Then, permission granted. Bay 7, hurry. Jiho pushed the ship harder. They entered the station's defensive perimeter just as the engines gave out completely. The ship wasn't flying anymore. It was falling. Brace for impact! Jiho shouted. They hit the landing pad hard. Metal screamed. Jiho was thrown against his restraints. Everything went dark for a moment. When he opened his eyes, alarms were still blaring, but they were down. They were alive. He unbuckled and ran back to the medical bay. Nari was on the floor, having fallen from the table, but she was conscious, looking up at him with frightened eyes. We made it, Jiho said, helping her up. We're safe. For now. Heian Station was loud and crowded and smelled like 100 different species all trying to breathe the same air. Jiho carried Nari through the marketplace, wrapped in his thermal blanket so people wouldn't stare. They stared anyway. The crash had damaged his ship badly. Mira calculated repairs would cost more money than Jiho had. He'd used most of his savings on medical supplies for Nari. Now he needed to figure out how to get off this station before Taiyang Corporation found them again. Stay close, Jiho told Nari. She was clinging to his back, her arms around his neck. He'd fashioned a carrier so he could keep his hands free. She was light enough that it didn't slow him down much. They passed shops selling everything from food to weapons to illegal tech. Aliens of dozens of species haggled and argued in a mix of languages. Some looked human, others were so strange Jiho couldn't figure out which end was the head. A human merchant called out to them. Hey, you there! That's a Velith child, isn't it? Jiho kept walking, but the merchant stepped in front of him. I asked you a question. Where'd you get her? Found her, Jiho said shortly. Now move. The merchant looked Nari up and down. His eyes lingered on her missing legs. She damaged goods. Nobody's going to pay much for her, but I know some researchers who might be interested. Give you 50 credits. Jiho's hand moved to his pistol. She's not for sale. Move. Now. The merchant raised his hands and stepped back, but he was smiling. Touchy, just business, friend. But word of advice? Velith kids are expensive to care for. Their food alone costs a fortune. You're better off selling her while you can. Jiho pushed past him without answering. Nari's grip tightened around his neck. He wanted to buy me? The translator on Jiho's belt said. He's an idiot. Ignore him. They found a cheap room in the station's lower levels. It was small and dirty, but it had a door that locked. Jiho set Nari down on the bed and checked the translator. The battery was dying. He'd need to find a charging station soon. I am trouble, Nari said through the device. That man, right, You should sell me. Stop, Jiho said firmly. I'm not selling you. I'm not abandoning you. We're going to figure this out together. But you have no money. You have broken ship because of me. Because of Taeyang Corporation, Jiho corrected. They're the ones who did this, not you. You're just a kid who survived something terrible. There was a knock at the door. Jiho's hand went to his pistol again. Who is it? Someone who wants to help, a voice said. Male, speaking in standard human language. My name is Dae-hyun. I heard you crashed here with a Velith child. I work with an organization that helps displaced aliens. Jiho opened the door a crack, keeping his body between the stranger and Nari. The man outside was human, middle-aged, wearing clean clothes that looked expensive. He smiled warmly. May I come in? I promise I'm not here to cause trouble. Jiho let him in but kept his pistol visible. Dae-hyun didn't seem bothered. He looked at Nari with what appeared to be genuine sympathy. Poor thing, he said. What happened to her legs? Taeyang Corporation, Jiho said flatly. Dae-hyun's expression darkened. I see. Yes, they've been the subject of many complaints. Unfortunately, they're too powerful to prosecute. He turned back to Jiho. But that's why organizations like mine exist. We help victims like her find proper care. What kind of care? Medical facilities that understand Velith biology, prosthetic specialists, psychological counseling, and most importantly, protection from those who'd harm her further. Dae-hyun pulled out a data pad. I can have her transported to our facility within the hour. She'll be safe there, and you'll be free to repair your ship and get back to your life. It sounded perfect. Too perfect. What's the catch? Jiho asked. No catch. We're funded by donations from various benefactors who believe in helping those in need. And what do these benefactors get in return? Dae-hyun smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. The satisfaction of helping the less fortunate. What else? Jiho looked at Nari. She was watching Dae-hyun carefully, her dark eyes suspicious. Smart kid. Thanks for the offer, Jiho said, but we're fine on our own. Dae-hyun's smile faded. Be reasonable. You're a salvager, not a caregiver. You can barely afford to feed yourself, let alone a growing Velith child. Her dietary needs alone. I said we're fine. You're being stubborn and foolish. That girl needs specialized care that you cannot provide. Then I'll learn. Dae-hyun stood up, his friendly mask completely gone now. You're making a mistake. That child is valuable. Others won't be as polite as I am in trying to acquire her. Is that a threat? It's a fact. Think about it. You have my contact information. He left, the door sliding shut behind him. Nari made clicking sounds. The translator spoke. Bad man. Smelled wrong. Yeah, Jiho agreed. Bad man. For the next 2 days, Jiho worked to gather supplies and find parts for his ship. It was slow going. Everything cost more than it should, and everywhere he went, people stared at them. Word had spread about the human with the legless Velith child. Some people were sympathetic, others were not. A group of humans cornered him in a repair shop. You're the idiot risking his life for an alien, right? One of them said. I'm the one who helped someone who needed help, Jiho replied calmly. She's not even human. Why do you care? Because she's a person. That's enough. The man laughed. A person? It's an alien. A damaged one, too. You could get good money if you handed her over to the right people. Instead, you're wasting resources keeping her alive. Jiho set down the part he was examining. You done? Just saying, you're making the rest of us humans look stupid. We got enough problems without adopting every broken alien we find. Then it's good I'm not asking your opinion. The confrontation ended without violence, but it left Jiho tired. Was he being stupid? Everyone seemed to think so. Even Mira had calculated that his chances of survival increased significantly if he found Nari a different caretaker. That evening, he sat in their room while Nari slept. He was trying to design a mobility device for her using salvaged parts. Something simple. Just a frame with wheels that she could use to move around without him having to carry her everywhere. He wasn't an engineer. The design looked crude and probably wouldn't work. But he had to try. Nari woke up and watched him work. "What are you making?" "Something to help you move around," Jiho said. He showed her his sketches. "I thought if I could build a frame that supports your weight, with wheels here and here, you could push yourself around. Be more independent." Nari stared at the drawings. Then she started clicking excitedly. The translator struggled to keep up. "You make legs? For me?" "Not real legs. Just something to help until we can get you proper prosthetics." She reached out and touched the sketch gently like it was precious. Tears ran down her blue cheeks. "Why, you do this? Everyone say not worth trouble." Jiho set down his tools and looked at her seriously. "Nari, listen to me. Those people are wrong. You are worth it. Every person is worth it. That's what makes us different from corporations like Taiyang. They see profits and losses. We see people." "We?" Nari asked. "Humans, at least the good ones. We don't always make the smart choice. Sometimes we make the right choice instead." "Right. Choice is keep me? Right choice is not leaving you behind." Nari was quiet for a moment. Then she said something long and complicated. The translator worked hard and finally produced. "My father told me humans were dangerous, but also kind. He said they fight for things. They believe in even stupid things. You are like he said. Your father sounds like a smart man." "He was." She touched the data device hanging around her neck. Jiho had noticed it before but hadn't asked about it. "He gave me this before they killed him. Said important. Said keep safe. What's on it? Don't know. Locked. Need special computer." Jiho filed that information away. If Nari's father had given her that device right before dying, it must be important. Maybe important enough to justify everything Taiyang Corporation was doing to cover their tracks. But that was a problem for another day. Right now, he needed to focus on keeping them both alive and building Nari something to restore a small piece of her independence. Outside their room, Haeon Station continued its endless noise and chaos. Somewhere out there, people were looking for them. Bad people with bad intentions. But in this small room, Jiho worked on his crude mobility device while Nari watched, hope lighting up her dark eyes for the first time since he'd found her. And for now, that was enough. Jiho woke to the sound of their door being cut open. He grabbed his pistol and rolled off the bed, putting himself between the door and Nari. The girl woke with a frightened cry. The door exploded inward. 3 figures rushed in, wearing armor and carrying weapons. Bounty hunters. Jiho fired twice, hitting one in the shoulder. The hunter fell back. "Get the girl!" one of them shouted. Jiho fired again, providing cover as he grabbed Nari. She was already clutching the mobility device he'd built for her. It wasn't finished, but she held it like a lifeline. "Hold on!" Jiho said. He threw her onto his back and ran for the room's back exit. It was barely more than a ventilation shaft, but it was their only choice. The hunters fired. Energy blasts burned the air where Jiho had been standing. He dove into the shaft, crawling fast. Nari held his neck tight, making frightened clicking sounds. "Mira!" Jiho shouted into his communicator. "Where are they?" 3 hunters in the room, 2 more covering the main exits. "I am detecting 17 additional heat signatures converging on your location. Jiho, the bounty on Nari has gone public. You have approximately 4 minutes before this entire sector knows your position. 4 minutes. They needed to move faster. Ji-ho emerged from the shaft into a lower maintenance corridor. The lighting was dim, and the air smelled like chemicals and old metal. He started running, his boots echoing on the floor. Behind them, he heard the hunters entering the corridor. "They're in the maintenance level. Cut them off at Junction 7. Ji-ho's mind raced. Junction 7 was ahead of them. They'd be trapped. He needed another option. "Nari," he said while running, "can you use that mobility device, even if it's not finished?" She made clicking sounds. The translator on his belt spoke between his heavy breaths. "I can try." He set her down and helped her into the frame. It was rough, made from spare parts and welded together with whatever he could find. But the wheels worked, and the support bars held her weight. "Push here," he showed her. "It'll move you forward. Try to keep up." She nodded and pushed. The device rolled forward clumsily, but it worked. They moved together, Ji-ho beside her with his pistol ready. He could hear the hunters getting closer. The corridor split ahead. Left went to the docking bays. Right went deeper into the station's lower levels. "Left," Ji-ho decided. "We get to my ship." "Your ship is surrounded," Mira interrupted. "I count 6 hostiles waiting there." "Right then. Deeper into the station." They took the right path. Nari was getting faster with the mobility device, learning how to push and steer. But the hunters were faster. Energy blasts hit the walls around them. Ji-ho returned fire, not aiming to kill, but to slow them down. Station security would eventually respond to weapons fire, but that might take a while in the lower levels. They rounded a corner and almost ran into another person. A woman, tall and slim with blue skin like Nari's, but darker. She wore official-looking clothes and carried no weapons. "This way," she said urgently, in perfect human language. "Quickly!" Ji-ho hesitated, but the hunters were right behind them, and this woman wasn't shooting at them. He made the choice. "Lead on." The woman ran down a side corridor that Ji-ho hadn't even noticed. It was narrow, barely wide enough for one person. Nari's mobility device scraped the walls, but she kept moving. The corridor led to a hidden door. The woman pressed her hand to a scanner, and it opened. She pushed them inside and closed it quickly. They were in a small office, clean, organized, with a window looking out at the station's marketplace. The sounds of pursuit faded. The woman turned to them, and her eyes widened when she saw Nari. She dropped to her knees and started speaking in the Velith language, clicking and chirping sounds, fast and emotional. Nari responded, equally emotional. They were having a conversation, rapid and intense. Finally, the woman looked at Ji-ho. "You're the human who saved her." "Who are you?" "My name is Hyejin. I'm a Velith diplomat. Or I was, before I started investigating Taiyang Corporation." She looked at Nari again, her expression pained. "I knew your father, little one. I knew what he was trying to expose. I'm so sorry I couldn't save him." Nari made soft clicking sounds, sadness in every note. Hyejin stood and faced Ji-ho. "Thank you for protecting her. Most wouldn't have." "Most people are idiots," Ji-ho said. "Can you help us get off this station?" "Yes, but there's something you need to understand first." Hyejin gestured to Nari's data device. "That device she carries, do you know what's on it?" "No. She said it's locked." "It contains evidence. Proof of illegal genetic experiments on dozens of species. Proof that Taiyang Corporation has been kidnapping subjects, including children, for research. Nari's father gathered all of it before they killed him." Ji-ho felt cold. "How much proof?" "Enough to destroy Taiyang Corporation. Enough to start a galactic investigation. Enough to save thousands of victims currently held in their facilities. And enough to make us targets for the rest of our lives." "Yes," Hyejin said honestly. "That data is worth billions to some parties. and worth killing for to Taiyang. Every bounty hunter, mercenary, and assassin in this sector will be looking for you now. Nari made clicking sounds. The translator spoke. I can delete it. Keep you safe. No, Hyejin said sharply, then softer. No, child. Your father died to protect that data. If we delete it, Taiyang wins. All those victims stay victims. All those deaths mean nothing. But Jiho will die protecting me. I might, Jiho admitted. Or I might not. But either way, that's my choice to make. He looked at Hyejin. Can you unlock the device? Yes. I have the codes your father gave me, but once we unlock it, we need to make a decision. We can try to smuggle it to Velith authorities, which is slow and risky, or we can release it publicly, which is fast but makes us immediate targets for everyone. How immediate? Minutes. Every corporation, government, and criminal organization will come for us. Jiho thought about his sister, about promises made too late, about doing the right thing even when it was stupid. If we release it, how many people get saved? Thousands, maybe tens of thousands. The evidence shows Taiyang has facilities across dozens of planets. He looked at Nari. She was watching him with those dark eyes, trusting him to make the choice. What do you want? He asked her. It's your father's data, your decision. Nari was quiet for a long moment. Then she made clicking sounds, clear and firm. The translator spoke. My father said truth is worth dying for. I believe him. Release it. You're just a kid, Jiho said gently. You shouldn't have to make choices like this. But I am not just victim. I am witness. I saw others in cages being hurt. If data saves them, then worth risk. Hyejin smiled sadly. Your father would be proud. Jiho sighed. All right, but we do this smart. We need a plan. Where's the best place to broadcast data that Taiyang can't shut down? The main communications hub, Hyejin said. It's neutral territory, protected by station security. Multiple redundant systems. Once data enters those systems, it gets distributed automatically to thousands of news agencies and government databases. Even Taiyang can't stop it all. How do we get there without being killed? That's the difficult part. The hub is in the station's upper levels. We'd have to pass through the marketplace, use the main elevators, and get past heavy security. And we have a legless Velith child with us, Jiho added. Not exactly inconspicuous. I can hide, Nari said. Small. You carry me. Cover with blanket. The hunters know I'm with you. They'll be watching for a human carrying something. Hyejin considered. What if you weren't carrying her? What if she moved independently? They all looked at Nari's crude mobility device. That thing won't work in crowds, Jiho said. It's too slow, too clumsy. Then we make it better, Hyejin said. I have access to Velith medical technology. If we can modify the device, make it faster and more stable, she could move through the crowds while we provide cover. How long would that take? A few hours. We don't have hours. Those hunters will find this place eventually. Then we work fast. For the next 3 hours, they modified Nari's mobility device. Hyejin provided advanced materials from her diplomatic supplies. Jiho used his salvager skills to integrate them with his design. Nari tested each modification, giving feedback through the translator. The final version was sleek and fast. It had 4 wheels instead of 2, with a low center of gravity. Nari could control it with her hands, steering and accelerating smoothly. It was still crude compared to real prosthetics, but it worked. How does it feel? Jiho asked. Nari pushed herself around the office, moving in circles and figure eights. She was smiling. Good. Feel strong. All right, Jiho said. Let's go save some lives, and probably die trying. Hyejin smiled. I've been told humans have a saying for this. In for a penny, in for a pound. Yeah, Jiho agreed. Something like that. They prepared to leave, each checking their equipment. Jiho had his pistol and one backup weapon. Hyejin had diplomatic credentials that might or might not work. Nari had her mobility device and the data device around her neck. Not much to fight a corporation with. But it would have to be enough. Ready? Jiho asked. Nari nodded firmly. Ready. They opened the door and headed toward the communications hub, toward danger, toward a choice that would change everything. Behind them, in the lower levels, the hunters were still searching. And above them, in orbit, Taeyang Corporation ships were moving into position. The battle for the truth had begun. Hundreds of people from dozens of species pushed through the crowded walkways. Merchants shouted about their goods. Children ran between stalls. Music played from different shops, mixing together into noise. Perfect cover, if they were careful. Jiho walked ahead, pretending to browse goods while watching for hunters. Hyejin stayed close to Nari, who rolled through the crowd on her mobility device. To casual observers, she looked like any other Velith child. Her missing legs were hidden under a colorful cloth that made her appear to be sitting normally in the wheeled frame. But Jiho's eyes caught everything. The two humans watching from a food stall, trying too hard to look casual. The armored figure on the upper walkway, scanner in hand. The merchant who stopped selling suddenly to speak into a communicator. We've got watchers, Jiho said quietly into his collar mic. I see them, Hyejin replied. 4 definite hostiles. Probably more we haven't spotted. Can we reach the elevators before they move on us? Unknown. The elevators are 50 meters ahead. 50 meters through a crowd. It might as well be 50 kilometers. They kept moving. Nari stayed calm, maneuvering her device smoothly around people's legs. She'd gotten good with it quickly. Smart kid. They were 20 meters from the elevators when someone shouted, There! The Velith girl! The marketplace erupted. People screamed and ran as hunters drew weapons. Jiho grabbed his pistol and fired at the nearest threat. The hunter's scanner exploded in his hand. Run! Jiho shouted. Hyejin pulled a small device from her coat and threw it. Smoke exploded across the marketplace, thick and purple. People couldn't see 3 feet ahead. Nari pushed her device as fast as it would go. Jiho and Hyejin ran beside her, weapons ready. Energy blasts cut through the smoke randomly. The hunters couldn't see them, but they were firing anyway. A blast hit a stall next to them. It exploded in flames. Jiho felt the heat on his face as they ran past. They reached the elevators. Hyejin slammed her hand on the call button. Nothing happened. They've locked down the lifts, she said. Then we take the stairs. Stairs was a generous term. It was more like a vertical maintenance shaft with metal rungs welded to the side. Jiho looked at Nari. Can you climb? She nodded firmly. She grabbed the first rung with her strong arms and pulled herself up. Her mobility device hung from a strap on her back. She climbed like she'd been doing it her whole life. Jiho went next, staying below her in case she fell. Hyejin came last, firing down the shaft to discourage pursuit. They climbed 5 levels. Jiho's arms burned. Nari's breathing was heavy but steady. The kid had more strength than she looked. They emerged into a maintenance corridor on the upper levels. Cleaner here. Quieter. The communications hub was close. Jiho, Mira's voice came through his earpiece. I must inform you that Taeyang Corporation has issued a public statement. They claim Nari is a dangerous escaped experiment. They're offering a reward of 1 million credits for her return. 1 million. That was enough money to retire on. Enough to make good people do bad things. How many hunters are we talking about now? Jiho asked. Based on communication traffic, I estimate over 50 individuals are actively searching for you on this station. And Taeyang has deployed a military cruiser to the system. It will arrive in approximately 40 minutes. 40 minutes to get to the hub, upload the data, and somehow escape. Not good odds. They kept moving. The corridor ended at a security checkpoint. 2 guards stood there, looking bored. They straightened when they saw Jiho's group approach. "This is a restricted area," one guard said. "Only authorized personnel." Hyejin stepped forward and showed her diplomatic credentials. "I'm Velith Ambassador Hyejin. I need to access the communications hub on urgent diplomatic business." The guard scanned her credentials, frowned. "These credentials have been flagged, Ambassador. You're wanted for questioning by Taeyang Corporation." Taeyang Corporation has no authority over Velith diplomats. Maybe not, but station security does. I'm going to have to ask you to wait here while I verify. Jiho didn't let him finish. He moved fast, disarming the guard and pushing him against the wall. The second guard drew his weapon, but Hyejin was faster. She had a stun device pressed against his neck before he could fire. "I'm sorry," Jiho said to the guard he was holding. "We're not here to hurt anyone, but we need to get through that door." "You're making a mistake," the guard said. "There's nowhere to run. The whole station knows you're here." "Then we better hurry." They secured the guards with their own restraints and took their access cards. The door to the communications hub opened. Inside was a massive room filled with computer banks and holographic displays. Only a few technicians worked there at this hour. They looked up in surprise as Jiho's group entered. "Everyone out," Jiho said, not pointing his weapon at anyone but making it visible. "This will be over soon. Nobody needs to get hurt." The technicians didn't argue. They left quickly. Hyejin went to the main console and started working. "I need 10 minutes to bypass the security protocols and upload the data." "You've got 5, Jiho said. "After that, every security officer on this station will be here." Nari rolled up beside Hyejin. She took the data device from around her neck and handed it to the diplomat. Her hands were shaking. Hyejin took it gently. "Are you sure, little one? Once I activate this, there's no going back. Your father's work becomes public, but so does your story. Everyone will know what happened to you." Nari made clicking sounds. The translator spoke. "Let them know. Let them see what Taeyang does. Maybe then they'd stop." "Maybe," Hyejin agreed. She inserted the device into the console. Jiho watched the door while they worked. His mind was racing. Even if they succeeded in uploading the data, how would they escape? The station was surrounded. Taeyang's cruiser was coming. They had no ship, no backup, no plan beyond this moment. He could still turn back, could grab Nari, run to Hyejin's ship if she had one, get out of the system. Let someone else fight this battle. It would be the smart choice, the safe choice. "Jiho," Nari said quietly. He looked at her. She was watching him with those dark, knowing eyes. "You thinking about running," she said through the translator. "I understand. I make you run. You don't make me do anything. I do. You stay with me when could leave. You protect me when easier to abandon. You climb with me when could use elevator alone. So you can go now. Take Hyejin's ship. Leave me here. I upload data. I stay. You be safe." Jiho knelt down so he was at her level. "Is that what you want?" "I want you alive." "And I want you alive. Seems we both want the same thing. But only one can—" "No," Jiho interrupted firmly. "We both survive, or neither of us do. That's how this works. You don't get to decide what I'm willing to carry." Nari's eyes filled with tears. "Why? I am not your family, not your species. Just girl you found. Why you do this?" Jiho thought about his sister. About 15 years of guilt and regret, about all the times he'd asked himself the same question. Because someone should have stayed, he said simply. Someone should have stayed for my sister. Nobody did. So now I stay. For you. For anyone who needs it. That's what being human means to me. Even if you die? Even then. Nari made a sound like a sob and wrapped her arms around his neck. Jiho held her carefully, this small alien child who'd somehow become the most important thing in his world. Upload is at 60%, Hyejin announced. 7 minutes remaining. Alarms started blaring throughout the station, loud and urgent. Security override, Mira reported. Multiple units converging on your location. You have 2 minutes before they breach the door. Hyejin, can you speed this up? Jiho asked. Not without corrupting the data. We need the full upload. Then we hold them off. Jiho moved to the door controls. He sealed it and set the emergency locks. It wouldn't hold forever, but it might buy them time. The door shook as something hit it from outside. Once, twice. They were using cutting tools. Upload 75%, Hyejin said, her voice tense. The door glowed red where the cutting tools worked. Molten metal dripped onto the floor. Come on, Jiho muttered. Come on. 80%. The door was nearly cut through. Jiho could see figures moving outside, armed, armored, professional. Jiho, Nari said. She'd moved her mobility device next to him. If they get in, you protect, Hyejin. Let upload finish. I will distract them. Absolutely not. I am small, fast. They want me alive. I can... No. Jiho looked at her seriously. We do this together, all of us. Nobody plays hero. Nobody sacrifices themselves. We're a team. Team? Nari asked. The translator made the word sound uncertain. Yeah, team. It means we don't leave anyone behind. Not ever. 90%, Hyejin called out. The door fell inward with a crash. Security officers poured through, weapons raised. Hands up! All of you! Jiho raised his hands slowly. Hyejin did the same, but kept working at the console behind her back. Step away from the computer, the lead officer commanded. Can't do that, Hyejin said. 95%. I said step away. 98%. The officer aimed his weapon at Hyejin. Last warning. 100%, Hyejin said, pressing the final key. Upload complete. For a moment, nothing happened. Then every screen in the communications hub lit up. Data started flowing. Files opened across 1,000 networks simultaneously. Images, videos, documents, all the evidence of Taeyang Corporation's crimes spreading like wildfire. The security officer's communicator went crazy. Every news agency, every government database, every public network was receiving the files. There was no way to stop it now. What did you do? The officer whispered. What was right? Hyejin said quietly. Outside, in orbit, Taeyang's military cruiser detected the data burst. Inside the communications hub, a message appeared on every screen. It was from Taeyang Corporation's CEO. Simple and direct. Kill them all. The security officer stared at the message on his screen. His weapon stayed pointed at Hyejin, but his hand was shaking. You know what this means? He asked quietly. Taeyang just authorized an execution on a neutral station. They're going to destroy everything here to silence you. Then you better let us go, Jiho said, because we're the only ones with a reason to stop them. You're criminals. You broke into a secure facility. We exposed child murderers, Hyejin interrupted. Read the files flooding your networks right now. Read about the experiments, the torture, the children in cages. Then decide who the criminals are. The officer's communicator beeped urgently. A voice came through, panicked. All units, we have a situation. Taeyang Corporation cruiser is powering weapons. They're targeting the station itself. The officer looked at his team, then at Jiho's group. Everyone's going to die because of what you did. Everyone was going to die anyway, Nari said through her translator. The officer's eyes widened, as if he'd forgotten she could speak. Taiyang kills witnesses, always, but now, Galaxy knows. Now, truth is out. Worth it. Alarms blared throughout the station. Emergency broadcasts warned of incoming attack. People screamed and ran through the corridors outside. "We need to evacuate," one of the security officers said nervously. "If that cruiser fires, then evacuate," Jiho said. "We're leaving too, to stop them." "How?" the lead officer demanded. "How do you stop a military cruiser with what? A pistol and a mobility device?" "We find help," Jiho said, "and we make noise." He pushed past the officers to a communications terminal. His fingers flew across the controls, opening a broadcast channel to the entire station and beyond. "This is Jiho, human salvager. To anyone receiving this, Taiyang Corporation is about to murder thousands of innocent people to cover up their crimes. The evidence is out there now. You've all seen it. Children experimented on, families destroyed, species enslaved, all for profit." He paused, thinking of his sister, of Nari, of every person ever left behind by those in power. "I'm just one person. I can't stop a cruiser. I can't fight a corporation. But I can stand here and say no. I can refuse to let them win. If anyone out there believes that matters, if anyone thinks that's worth fighting for, then come help us, because we're not running anymore." Jiho closed the channel. The security officers stared at him like he was crazy. "That's your plan?" the lead officer asked. "Make a speech and hope someone shows up? You got a better idea?" Before the officer could answer, Mira spoke in Jiho's ear. "Multiple ships approaching the station. I'm detecting—" "Wait, Jiho, those aren't Taiyang ships. Those are independents, salvagers, traders, even some military vessels." "How many?" 17 so far. More arriving every minute." On the communications terminal, messages started flooding in. Text, video, audio, all saying the same thing. "We're with you. Human solidarity. Nobody kills kids and gets away with it. For the girl who survived." More ships arrived. Not just humans, other species too. Aliens who'd read the files, who'd seen the evidence, who decided that some things were worth fighting for. A voice came over the station-wide communications. Female, calm, authoritative. "This is Captain Yuna of the Taiyang Corporation cruiser Justice's Hand. To all vessels interfering with corporate operations, disperse immediately or be destroyed." Another voice answered. Male, rough, speaking with a heavy accent. "This is Captain Minho of the salvage ship Wild Star. Taiyang, you want that station? You go through us first." "This is Captain Sun He of the trader vessel Ocean's Dream. My cargo hold has children's toys in it, kids who were saved because of that data upload. I'm not letting you kill the people who saved them." More voices joined. Ship after ship declaring their stand. It wasn't an organized fleet. It was chaos. But it was united chaos. Captain Yuna's voice was ice cold. "You are all committing corporate treason. Taeyang will remember this." "Let them remember," Minho replied. "Maybe they'll think twice before hurting kids." Jiho felt something loosen in his chest. They weren't alone. His broadcast had reached people, and people had answered. "We need to get to a ship," Hyejin said urgently. "If fighting breaks out, this station will become a battlefield." "My ship is still in Bay 7, Jiho said. "But it's barely functional." "Mine is in Bay 12, Hyejin offered. "Diplomatic vessel, fast, armed. Then we run for it." They moved through the station as space battle erupted outside. The windows showed flashes of light as weapons fired. The independent ships were no match for Taeyang's cruiser in direct combat, but they didn't fight directly. They swarmed, using hit-and-run tactics, forcing the cruiser to defend multiple angles. Jiho carried Nari on his back now. Her mobility device was too slow for this. They sprinted through corridors full of panicking people. The security officers had let them go, too busy with evacuation to worry about arrests. Bay 12 was ahead. Almost there. An explosion shook the station. The lights flickered. People screamed. "Taiyang is firing on the station anyway," Mira reported. "They're trying to destroy the communications hub to prevent further data transmission." "Will it work?" Jiho asked. "No. The data has already spread too far. This is revenge, not strategy." They reached Bay 12. Hyejin's ship was sleek and white, with Velith symbols on the hull. She opened the airlock with her credentials. "Get inside! Quickly!" They piled into the ship. Hyejin ran to the cockpit and started the launch sequence. Jiho strapped Nari into a seat and took the co-pilot position. "I've never flown a Velith ship," he admitted. "Then you better learn fast," Hyejin said. The ship lifted off. Through the viewport, Jiho saw the battle. Dozens of small ships harassing the massive cruiser. It was like watching insects attack a giant. Individually, they were nothing. Together, they were a swarm that couldn't be ignored. But insects died to giants. As they watched, one of the salvage ships took a direct hit. It exploded, pieces spinning away into space. Jiho felt sick. Someone had died. Someone who'd answered his call. "Jiho," Nari said from her seat. "We need to stop, cruiser. Stop them from killing more." "How? That thing has armor and weapons we can't touch." "I know how," she said quietly. "My father's data has more than experiments, has ship codes, security, protocols. Taiyang uses same systems on all ships." Hyejin turned sharply. "You can hack the cruiser." "Maybe. If we get close enough. If I can connect to their systems." "That's suicide," Jiho said. "We get close to that thing, we're dead. But others keep dying because of us, because we released data. This is our responsibility." Jiho wanted to argue, wanted to tell her she was just a kid and shouldn't have to think about things like responsibility and sacrifice. But he saw the determination in her eyes and knew she'd made up her mind. "All right," he said. "We do it smart. We use the battle as cover. Get in close while the cruiser is distracted. Nari connects and does whatever she can. Then we get out fast." "Agreed," Hyejin said. "But Jiho, if this doesn't work, it'll work. It has to." They dove into the battle. Hyejin was a good pilot, weaving between debris and weapons fire. The cruiser loomed ahead, massive and deadly. Its weapons tracked them, but the swarm of independent ships kept it busy. A voice came over their radio, Captain Minho. "Velith ship, what are you doing?" "Get out of here." "We have a plan," Jiho responded. "Keep them distracted for 2 more minutes." "You're crazy. That's a human's plan if I ever heard one." "You volunteered for this," Jiho reminded him. "Yeah, I did. All right, everyone. Focus fire on the cruiser's port side. Give the crazy humans their 2 minutes." The swarm adjusted, concentrating their attacks on one side of the cruiser. It was doing minimal damage, but it forced Captain Yuna to rotate the ship, presenting a different angle. Hyejin took advantage, flying low along the cruiser's underside where weapons had limited range. She brought them to a communication array. "There," Nari said. "That array. Connect me there." "How do I connect you?" Hyejin asked. "Get close. I use wireless. Father taught me." Hyejin brought the ship within meters of the cruiser's hull. Nari closed her eyes, her small hands working controls on a tablet Hyejin had given her. Lights flickered across the tablet. Code scrolled past. Nari made clicking sounds of concentration. I'm seeing their systems." "Can you disable their weapons?" Jiho asked. No, too protected. But I can access life, support, and emergency protocols. On the cruiser's bridge, Captain Yuna suddenly found herself staring at warning screens. Life support was failing. Emergency evacuation procedures were activating. Airlocks were opening to vacuum. "What's happening?" she shouted at her crew. "Unknown, Captain. The systems are going crazy." "Manual override." "Override not responding." "Captain, we're losing atmosphere." Throughout the cruiser, Taeyang soldiers rushed for escape pods. The ship wasn't destroyed, but it was disabled. Without life support, it was just a floating metal tomb. Nari opened her eyes. She was crying, but smiling. Ship is dead." "You did more than that," Hyejin said, looking at her scanner. "Every Taeyang soldier on that cruiser is evacuating. The battle's over." The independent ship stopped firing. Captain Minho's voice came over the radio, stunned. "What? What did you do?" "What humans do," Jiho said. "We made noise, and we didn't give up." But even as he said it, he felt the weight of the victory. They'd won this battle. But Taeyang Corporation was vast. This was one cruiser, one station, one moment. "It's not over," Hyejin said, reading his thoughts. "They'll come after us. After Nari. After everyone who helped us today." "Let them come," Jiho said. He looked back at Nari, who was exhausted but proud in her seat. "We stood up once. We'll stand up again." Around them, the independent ships began broadcasting, messages of support, offers of protection, a dozen captains volunteering to escort them to safety. "Looks like you started something," Hyejin said to Jiho. "No," he replied, looking at Nari. "She did. I just refused to leave her behind." Captain Yuna's final transmission came through, her voice filled with something that might have been respect. "Human, I don't know if you're brave or foolish, but you've made an enemy of Taeyang Corporation. They will hunt you until you're dead." "Let them hunt," Jiho said. "We'll be ready." Jiho sat in a medical facility on the Valeth homeworld, watching Nari through a window. She was in a recovery room, surrounded by doctors who actually understood her biology. They'd been working on her for weeks, preparing her body for prosthetics. His own injuries had healed. Broken ribs from the battle, burns from the explosions. Nothing that wouldn't mend with time. But the waiting was hard. Not knowing if Nari would be okay was harder. Hyejin sat beside him, holding a datapad that showed the latest news. "Taeyang Corporation's stock has dropped 90%, she said. 3 of their executives are in custody. 17 facilities have been raided across 12 planets. They're finding victims, hundreds of them." "How many made it?" Jiho asked. "Most, thanks to the medical teams we dispatched. The evidence made it impossible for governments to ignore. There are investigations everywhere." "And Nari?" Hyejin smiled. "The doctors say she's responding well. The prosthetics will be ready for installation tomorrow." Jiho let out a breath he hadn't known he was holding. "Good. That's good." The door opened. A Veleth doctor emerged, making clicking sounds. Hyejin translated. "They want to know if you'd like to see her. She's been asking for you." Jiho stood up immediately. "Yes, please." The doctor led him through corridors filled with other patients, other survivors of Taeyang's experiments. Some were children like Nari. Others were adults who'd been imprisoned for years. All of them were healing now. All of them had hope because one human refused to leave one alien child behind. Nari's room was bright and clean. She lay in a special bed designed for Veleth anatomy. When she saw Jiho, her face lit up. "Jiho!" she said. Her human language had improved dramatically. The translator around her neck was now just a backup. "You came!" "Of course I came," he said, pulling up a chair beside her bed. "How are you feeling?" "Good. Nervous. Tomorrow they attach the prosthetics. What if they don't work?" "They'll work. These doctors are the best in the galaxy. And if they don't, will you still—" She trailed off, uncertain. "Will I still what? Will you still want me? If I can't walk? If I'm still broken?" Jiho felt his heart break and mend at the same time. He took her small blue hand in his. "Nari, listen to me. You were never broken. Not when I found you. Not now, not ever. You're the bravest person I know. With legs or without them, that doesn't change." She squeezed his hand. "The doctors say with the prosthetics, I can walk, run, maybe even dance. I've never danced." "Then we'll teach you," Jiho said, "once you're ready. We, me and Hyejin, and Mira, and all the people who've been asking about you. You've become kind of famous, kid." Nari made a face. "I don't want to be famous, I just want to be normal." "Normal is overrated," Jiho said. "But I understand. You want a regular life. You deserve that." "Do I?" she asked quietly. "All those people died at Heian Station because of us. Because we released the data." "No," Jiho said firmly. "They died because Taiyang Corporation chose to kill them. That's not on us. That's on them. And the people who answered my call, they knew the risks. They chose to fight anyway. Just like you chose to upload that data. Everyone made their choice. Even you? You chose to stay with me?" "Every single day," Jiho confirmed, "and I'll keep choosing it." They sat quietly for a moment. Then Nari said, "The doctors told me something about Velith culture. They said when someone saves your life, they become family. Not by blood, but by bond. Is that true for humans too?" "Sometimes. It depends." "What about us?" Nari asked. "Are we family?" Jiho thought about his sister, about the family he'd lost, about promises made too late and second chances he never thought he'd get. "Yeah," he said. "We're family." Nari smiled. Then she asked, "What happens after? After I get my legs? After I learn to walk? Do we go back to your salvaging?" "Actually, I got offered a job," Jiho said. "Something new. There's an organization called the Interspecies Protection Coalition. They're forming because of what happened at Heian Station. Their job is to protect victims of corporate abuse, to investigate crimes like Taeyang's, to make sure what happened to you never happens to anyone else." "That sounds important." "It is. They offered me a position, leading rescue operations, using my military and salvage skills to help people." "Will you take it?" "I don't know. It means going to dangerous places, fighting powerful enemies, never really being safe. Like now," Nari pointed out. "Yeah, like now." Jiho smiled. "But there's one condition. I told them I won't take the job unless they let me bring my daughter with me." Nari's eyes went wide. "Your daughter?" "If you want to be," Jiho said carefully. "I know I'm not Velith. I don't know your culture or your language perfectly. I'm just a broken-down salvager with too many scars and not enough sense. But I meant what I said. Your family. If you want to make it official, I'll adopt you properly. Legal paperwork and everything." Tears ran down Nari's blue cheeks. You want to be my father?" "I want to be whatever you need me to be. Father, guardian, friend, teacher. Whatever helps you be the amazing person you already are." Nari launched herself at him, wrapping her arms around his neck. He caught her carefully, holding her close while she cried into his shoulder. Happy tears this time. "Yes," she said through her sobs. "Yes, I want that. I want to be your daughter. I want to have a family again." They stayed like that for a long time. A human and an alien, a salvager and a survivor, a father and daughter by choice, not by blood. The next day, Nari received her prosthetics. They were beautiful, designed specifically for her. Advanced technology wrapped in synthetic skin that matched her natural blue color. They attached at her knees, responding to her neural signals like real legs. The doctors helped her stand for the first time. She was wobbly, uncertain, but Jiho was there, holding her hand. "One step," he encouraged. "Just try one step." Nari lifted her right leg. The prosthetic responded. She set it down, then the left. Down, right, left. She was walking. "I'm doing it," she said, her voice full of wonder. "Jiho, I'm walking." "You are," he said, his own voice thick with emotion. "You're doing great." She took more steps, gaining confidence. Then she stumbled. Jiho caught her before she fell. "It's okay," he said. "Learning to walk takes time. Even for people who've done it before. Will you help me? Will you catch me when I fall?" "Every time," Jiho promised. "That's what fathers do." 2 weeks later, they stood in a government office on the Velith homeworld. Official paperwork was signed, witnessed by Hyejin, who'd become the Velith ambassador to Earth and was working on interspecies child protection laws. "Congratulations," the official said in perfect human language. "Legally, Nari is now your daughter. The adoption is complete." Jiho looked at the certificate in his hands. It made it real, made official what his heart had known since the moment he decided not to leave her behind. They left the office together. Nari was getting better with her prosthetics every day. She still used her mobility device sometimes when she was tired, but mostly she walked. She was proud of being able to move independently. Outside, the Velith capital city was beautiful. Purple skies and buildings that looked like they'd grown from the ground rather than being built. People of various species walked the streets peacefully. Someone called out to them. A Velith woman with a small child. "Are you the human? The one who saved the girl?" Jiho tensed, not sure if this was a good thing or bad. But the woman was smiling. "Thank you," she said. "My cousin was in one of Taeyang's facilities. They found her because of the data you released. She's alive because of you." The woman's child, a tiny Velith with pale blue skin, shyly offered Nari a small toy. A gesture of gratitude. Nari took it carefully. "Thank you," she said in Velith language, then in human language. "I'm glad your cousin is safe." More people approached. Other survivors, other families of survivors, all thanking them, all grateful that someone had finally stood up to the corporations that thought they could do whatever they wanted. Later, as they walked through a park, Nari asked, "Do you think we made a difference? Really?" "Look around," Jiho said. "Taeyang is in ruins. Their facilities are closed. Their victims are being rescued and healed. Laws are changing. The Interspecies Protection Coalition exists now. Yeah, kid, I think we made a difference. But there are other corporations, other bad people." "There always will be," Jiho agreed. "That's why we keep fighting. That's why I took the job with the coalition. And that's why you're going to train as a medic, so you can help people like your father wanted to." Nari had decided on her path. She wanted to study medicine, to help heal the victims they rescued. Jiho had enrolled her in the best Velith Medical Academy, though she was years younger than usual students. But after everything she'd survived, nobody doubted she could handle it. "Jiho," Nari said suddenly, "do you ever think about your sister?" "Every day." Do you think she'd be happy? About us?" Jiho stopped walking and knelt down so he was at Nari's eye level. "I think she'd love you. I think she'd be proud that I finally learned the lesson, that you don't leave people behind, that you stay even when it's hard, especially when it's hard." "I'm glad you stayed," Nari said. "Me too." They continued walking. Father and daughter, human and Velith. Two people who'd found each other in the wreckage of corporate greed and decided that family was what you chose, not what you were born into. Above them, ships came and went from the spaceport. Some of them were coalition vessels, painted with the symbol of their new organization. Others were independent ships, the ones that had answered Jiho's call at Haeyun Station. The galaxy was changing, slowly but changing. People were starting to believe that corporations couldn't do whatever they wanted, that victims deserved justice, that even one person's choice to stay could ripple outward and touch thousands of lives. Nari stumbled on an uneven piece of ground. Jiho caught her automatically. "Thanks," she said. "Always." She smiled and kept walking, her prosthetic legs carrying her forward with growing confidence. Jiho walked beside her, proud and protective and grateful for the second chance he'd been given. A stranger passing by saw them and asked his companion, "Is that his daughter?" Before Jiho could answer, Nari spoke up clearly in human language. "Yes, I'm his daughter." Jiho felt his heart swell. He put his hand on her shoulder gently. "Yeah, she is." They walked on together through the alien city, under purple skies, toward a future neither of them could have imagined 3 months ago. A future made possible because one human looked at one alien child and decided that some things were worth more than logic, more than safety, more than his own life. He'd decided she was worth staying for. And in the end, that simple choice had changed everything. Behind them, in the park they'd just left, someone had carved words into a memorial stone. Words that were spreading across the galaxy as a new saying. In the end, humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or their military might. It was their stubborn, illogical, beautiful refusal to leave anyone behind. And somewhere, in the vast darkness of space, other humans heard that saying and knew it was true. Because being human meant caring when it wasn't logical, fighting when it wasn't smart, staying when everyone else left. It meant looking at someone who needed help and saying simply and firmly, "I've got you. You're going to be okay." Even when you had no legs. Even when the galaxy said you should walk away. Especially then,